Hello, all of you. I'm Neetu Singh from Direction IAS, here to announce the commencement of a crash course that is beginning from 23rd of April. It is Environment, Ecology, Biodiversity and Climate Change. Falling into the domain of geographical study, I have been dealing with this topic since the time it has been introduced in the change pattern of prelims. Down lane, we have noticed that the questions coming from this particular section is fluctuating in number between 20, 25 earlier. Now it is in the range of 15 to 20, and thus plays quite significant role in determining whether you are qualifying your prelims or not. I do understand that by this time, many of us have already done the preparation for upcoming prelims, and it is all about revising it. So I'm extending this program basically to serve that purpose only. That is the reason I'm calling it a crash course, because it will be just giving you a quick brushing up of the nature of the questions that have been coming in this particular section. It is not from hardcore ecology, will be wrong for me to say, but the nature of questions that we are noticing is largely involving one India-centric approach, which incorporate the mention of major conventions, because as we are aware of the fact that India ratifies most of the conventions, whether it is related to climate change or the biodiversity conservation. It is also the questions that is in regards to the modifications or new addition to the government policies applicable in our country, and also the reports that are always there as a challenging task. Like very recently, we had on the phasal publishing of IPCC's report, which gives us the understanding of where the climate change related challenges are going. I just want you to understand the nature of questions and the strategy that you must follow precisely to take your final revision, which will make you understand what exactly is the purpose that this particular crash course will be serving. So a question paper trend is what I have created. I certainly don't want to go into the all details of it, but if I just take up some sample questions, which I have organized into block 1, that goes environment, ecology, biodiversity, and block 2 that goes climate change, because I can take pollution to be overlapping with both of them. So these are the two blocks into which we have organized the nature of the question trend to give us a basic understanding of how exactly I should proceed with revision, so that this 15 to 20 questions that I encounter from this particular topic is not going out of my hand, because this is definitely a very significant block. If I take last 2 years of analysis, after the questions coming from that social and economic development, it is the second prominent block where we are getting the number of questions. So quickly getting on to the question trend to prove my few of the important points, so that we take the sense of the purpose of the upcoming classes. I just want to share the screen with you. Very randomly picking up the questions that are asked in examination. Like this is the section which we have demarcated as ecology, biodiversity. So if you see the questions which, so this question that I see, which of the following national park is unique in being a swamp with a floaty vegetation that support rich biodiversity? Now, such type of questions are something which I call factual. But you need to understand that we have got more than 750 protected areas in our country, and each one of us cannot remember all such names. There is a trick by which we can make sense with some of the important parameters. You can easily see we are talking about Kabul Lamjao National Park. But what you need to interpret is that this is where we correlate Fumdi. Fumdis that are the floating vegetation that is identified here, and it makes example of a typical grass that we have in our country. As I said that we are having the questions that are related to environment. So you can see the question which is right here, a month-long ecologically important campaign and festival, because we need to understand that in CBD, the Convention on Biological Diversity, there has been the recognition given to TEK. Traditional ecological knowledge. Traditional ecological knowledge gives identification to traditional forest dwellers and their ways of conserving the biodiversity, whether it is sacred groups or it is the identification in terms of this festivity and campaigns. So you have to be understanding that environment is precisely my entire surrounding. And when it comes to environment, my surrounding, I can have questions that can be related to many things. It is not just ecology, it is not just TEK. I randomly go to the next page and I just try to pick up any of the question that is there. See this. What are the advantages or advantage of practicing drip irrigation? Now you'll say, no, this is the question which is coming from economics rather than environment. But drip irrigation is one of the very significant example of sustainable agriculture. And when I talk about sustainable agriculture with water conservation, is it not part and parcel of environmental sustainability? It is. It is. So what you have to actually comprehend with the nature of the questions that have been there is that I need to be aware of all the major conventions, all the major government laws or policies, and all the major reports. So whether I talk about the report that comes up as Indian State of Forest Report 2021, or I'm taking IPCC report, because they make the sense with the things. And laws and policies, when I'm talking about, I need to take it up from the Indian perspective as well as the important global perspective. I just want to prove one more point with taking up the reference of the question that you can see with the climate. So the recent examples that you can try to see. 2019 question, see for yourself. Which of the following statements are correct about deposit of methane hydrate? Whenever we talk about the methane hydrate, I'm taking up the reference of the significant constituent of long-lived greenhouse gases. It by default is correlated with the change of the climate. We are not denying that fact. And when we are talking about the change of the climate, it by default will have its impact on the ecology or biodiversity. So overlap by default is there. But then while organizing that, I have got a convention which is related to change of climate, and then I have a convention which is related to biodiversity conservation, I become at a better position of solving out such questions. See this same here, I have given the highlighting reference to the analysis, it becomes easier. Carbon monoxide, methane, ozone, and sulfur dioxide are released into atmosphere due to burning of crop and biomass residue. It's about pollution, isn't it? When I'm talking about the air pollution, we are taking this into consideration. But what you need to understand is that maximum of them, sulfur dioxide, ozone, methane, can be taken up as the changes in the atmospheric composition leading to change of climate. Interesting question that was asked in 2020 prelims. Social cost of carbon best describes the term social cost of carbon. Now, these are the terms that appears in newspapers. You have taken up the understanding of all conventions, all major laws and policies. And when you encounter questions like social cost of carbon, you are trapped. You are trapped basically because I'm not very sure about it. While taking the references of the choices that are given, I can make sense with some of them. Like you can see the answer here, so it is easier for you to apply. It is a measure in monetary value of the social cost of carbon, long-term damage by tons of CO2 emissions in every given year. This is basically deriving itself from CDM and CER, which has been the part and parcel of Kyoto Protocol. And mind it, Kyoto Protocol, though was finalized way back in 1997, it came into being in 2005. So something that comes up in a conventional, still contemporary age. And when you try to, because we have been talking about the question analysis, it's definitely not the time for me to talk about what has been the question trend last year, but just these sample names or the sample questions that gives me the understanding of climate change And note that the questions that I have asked you to see 2020 and 2021 is not coming up from the conventional edge. What is blue carbon? What is the common carbon metric supported by UNEP, United Nations Environment Program? Now, these are the things which comes up in a swift brushing up of the content matter that you are having. It doesn't mean that you have to take the understanding of these as the random fact. If I go with the very basic type of questions that have been asked in the question paper relating to something that is absolutely with ecology, see this question, I'm going very random with our question paper analysis. I have attached this as a link to this video, so you can certainly have a look to it. See this, a sandy and saline area is a natural habitat of Indian animal species, has no predator in that area, but its existence is threatened due to the destruction of the habitat. Sandy saline area in India, Run of Kutch. Run of Kutch is habitat of wild ass. Because this is where you try to justify the distinctions that goes up in your preparation. Himalayan range is very rich in species diversity. When I learn, I say it is species diversity because of altitude. Because of altitude, I can have many altitudinal biomes. No wonders I find Nanda Devi, I find Kanchenjunga, I find great Himalayan national parks into the list of prominent protected areas in the country. But what I'm noticing as the choice here is not at all altitude. So I see that it is high rainfall, exotic and invasive specimen are not introduced, less human interference, but automatically the question, it is confluence of different biogeographical zone. Why it is confluence of different biogeographical zone? Because of altitude. I hope you are understanding. So you have to basically analyze the question trend, and it is not just analysis of the question trend. You have to actually do justice to that the nature of the questions which are coming up do incorporate few of the absolute hardcore ecological expressions. Which of them are included in category 1, schedule 1 animals? Such type of questions precisely as per the updation which comes up from the nodal ministry, Ministry of Environment, Forest, Climate Change, must be updated by us. But then those are the questions which might be that I have remembered 10 specimen and then 11 and 12 have been asked in examination. But most of the question out of these 15, 20 questions, I sincerely believe that most of the questions are somewhere once you have grabbed the understanding of that foundation, not just of fundamentals of ecology, quick revision of the adaptations that we are having with the specimen, identifying it to the different types of biomes and what are the regulators of that, and then quickly getting on to the conventions and the challenges related, it becomes very manageable. And I definitely will say that truly speaking, it will be wrong for me to believe, it is wrong for me to claim that we can preempt the questions that can be asked. No one can. If anyone is claiming so, it's a false claim. All of you will agree to this. The only thing that you have to understand is that if I'm preparing for this examination, best thing that I can have in my hand is to be well prepared with the defined content. And if I'm done with that, I think I can easily solve out these 15, 20 questions. So I continue my legacy of extending the helping hand towards the swift revisions for all of those who are going to appear in the upcoming prelims examination. We have successfully concluded the map classes for the prelims. Now we want to take a quick crash course of this particular block from where we are getting large number of questions. So those who have joined in, we will be beginning on 23rd, and those who are still willing to join, we are open with the admissions. So come on board and do understand the difference of how a rational, dedicated, time-bound revision is going to do wonders to your 15 to 20 questions that are coming from this particular topic. Hope to see all of you on our classes that is in online mode, so that there is no trouble at all for you to be here right in Delhi. Okay, bye-bye. See you.